In this section, we will learn the best possible ways to communicate with fragments. In this video, we are going to explore the communication between activity and fragment with creating event callback. One of the most simple ways to find a view from activity inside fragment is to call getActivity.findView, and from activity with using findFragment by ID or findFragment by tag, the same way we used in our previous section. But not every case is that simple. As you remember, while creating our fragment blank, we had the option to implement factoring method and callback event. In this video, we will explore callback events, a way to pass data from fragment to the containing activity. But first, let's see what are callbacks and what do we use them for. The concept of callbacks is to inform another class if some work is done. In object-oriented design, we call it Hollywood principle, means don't call us, we call you. We are using callbacks between activities and fragments. Fragments must be modular. We can define a callback in the fragment to call methods. We are using callbacks between activities and fragments. Fragments must be modular. We can define a callback in the fragment to call methods in the activity and get the result as soon as it is available. In our code, we have a blank fragment, and this time I just clicked on Event Callback and see what happens. We have an interface, and inside it, we have methods. We can define more methods with as many as we desire input arguments. These inputs are there to pass data to the container activity. This is the first step of interacting with activity. I changed the input to a string because I'm going to pass a string. Then we have a listener reference. It is private because it will only be used by fragment. And it is an instance of our interface. To get it, we have to get listener in our onAttach method, since it will be automatically executed by the system. To get it, we have to get listener in onAttach method, since it will be automatically executed by the system. The context in onAttach refers to the fragment activity. I mean the activity that contains our fragment. We get the context and cast it as an instance of our interface, and the activity implements the interface, so our reference is usable till the lifetime of our fragment. And also, the code generated by the IDE is checking if the context is not an instance of our interface. Then it will throw an error. What I am willing to do is passing argument from the fragment to the activity. So I change the declaration of onCreateView. I define a value and name it as view. And the type, of course, is view. Then I copy everything I have here and change this one to view and paste it here. So now I change the declaration of my view for inflating the view, and I find our button and set it to listen for click inside my fragment. It's a different way from what we used to do. We used to call the button inside activities. Now we are going to use buttons inside fragments. So I define a value and name it as simple button. And of course, the type is a button. And of course, the type is a button. Then I find it from my view.find by ID r.id. Now all I have to do is to declare my button inside my function. Then I set it to listen to my click events. And all I have to do now is to listen if the fragment is executed. And all I have to do now is to listen for the interface. And I call onFragmentInteraction. Now inside it, I have to add the data I want to pass to the activity. Now I want to pass a text, so I change it to some text I want to pass. Moving next to our activity. I have already inflated our fragment, same as the way we did before. Now what I want to do is to implement the code inside activity. We have to implement our fragment interface. After the app.compat activity, I will add blank fragment dot onFragmentInteraction listener. The other thing I have to do is to implement it. I implement members, and the only one I'm going to implement is onFragmentInteraction. The code will be added on top of my codes. It is overridden successfully. Now I want to set the text view we have inside our activity, and I want to set activity's text as the value that our fragment passes. It is as easy as changing this code. Finding my text view and setting its text to what we receive from fragment text. Before I run it on emulator, I see I have an error here. Back to here, I haven't added my null safety. It's all done. So now let's run it on my emulator and see what's going on. Now that I run my project, at first I have hello world. And then by clicking on this button, the text changes to what I passed from the fragment. We successfully received the message.